What's good, everybody? It's your boy Todd Smith here once again, alongside my tag team partner Dale Clifford out there in Fernley, Nevada. And welcome to yet another episode of the No Gimmicks podcast. But this episode here is not just any episode. Dale and I are celebrating 1 year with the No Gimmicks podcast as of today. Dale, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Absolutely. Couldn't have thought of a better person to want to take this journey through wrestling podcasts with anybody else. So thanks for choosing me to tag along with you, Todd.
Well, thanks for putting up with my ass. Seriously, folks. This dude has put up with more stuff for me, man. So, yeah, definitely, Dylan. It's likewise, man. So let's go ahead and say what we've got to say here. Welcome to our good, the bad, and the ugly recap of WWE Money in the Bank 2017 from the SmackDown Live brand. So let's go ahead and dive right into the main event here. So we had AJ Styles taking on Nakamura, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn in an actual Money in the Bank match. So for the good here, we felt that this match saved this pay-per-view because this pay-per-view was going nowhere quickly. Isn't that right, Dale?
Absolutely. I felt like this was a glorified episode of a SmackDown.
Uh-huh. And I think April agreed with that as well, too.
Yes. She downright just thought from beginning to basically the main event, it was not good. And she's like, well, I could accept who won Money in the Bank. Again, as long as it wasn't Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm. Of course, because we all know April was not as down with the Zayn. But yeah, this one here, we had, some very creative spots. We actually had a showdown between Nakamura and AJ Styles. And we had, the Lone Wolf, Baron Corbin, emerge as the Money in the Bank winner. So, Dale, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I was kind of feeling like this might be the direction that they were going, having Corbin come out and attack Nakamura to start Money in the Bank. A little disappointed that we didn't get a full match of Shinsuke, but you kind of see that the way they put it together, Shinsuke was kind of able to come out. The ring was emptied of any ladders, and you kind of just saw him go to work with the moveset that we've become familiar with. He was able to put it on display. Again, this was the first big pay-per-view match for Nakamura since kind of coming to SmackDown. So that was just kind of the thing. Well, he's had two, but this was the big one because it was the main event. And it just kind of, it seemed like April brought it up, is did they kind of hold Nakamura's back a little bit because his style really didn't really work with the ladders. And you kind of really saw that. He didn't really use them at all.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I begin to felt the same way as well. I said Shinsuke, I'm a fan of his, but his moveset is very limited. It's mostly comprised of strikes. He's got that one exploder. It's kind of like an inverted exploder suplex that he uses. And then he does, like a few moves, mostly kicks and knee strikes from off the top ropes. So, yeah, I did not really think that a match where there's no DQ and you have to involve a lot of weaponry was really kind of his forte. So, yeah, I kind of agree with the way they held him out the match for the length of time that they did. So let's get to the bad here. So with Baron Corbin being the Money in the Bank briefcase holder at this point in time, we both feel that we are not going to see a cash in most likely for a very long time. Do you agree with me here, Dale?
Well, I won't say very long, but if everything kind of holds the way it's supposed to, Jinder's kind of carrying the rumor has Jinder going into through Royal Rumble with the title. Baron Corbin and Jinder, really, that they're a clash of bad guys. So that Baron isn't going to cash in on Jinder. So the only thing you can kind of see is that maybe you have a transitional champion, someone that beats Jinder, but then immediately loses to Baron Corbin.
Okay.
But again, it's like that could also, though, hurt because, again, this is the WWE Championship. This isn't like back in the day when we had the World Heavyweight Championship, the big gold belt that was kind of seen as second fiddle. It's like, now this is the WWE Championship where we've had Jinder become the 50th WWE champion. This is the big one. This is the big belt. to kind of put a transitional guy in there so that you can then push the title to Baron doesn't make any sense. So that's why I kind of think there could be a decent delay in when he cashes in the Money in the Bank.
Does the WWE do something crazy and pull a swerve on us and turn Baron Corbin face to have him face off against Jinder Mahal? Your thoughts on that, Dale?
Oh, they could. The way that they've been booking it wouldn't surprise me. But Baron as a face don't make no sense at all.
Yeah. But then again, it is the WWE. A lot of things that they do just don't make sense at all. So let's move on here to the ugly of this match. So we had a couple uglies already spotted out in this match, including AJ's execution of what almost looked like an AA on the Kevin Owens, where he literally bounced off of a ladder that was placed outside the ring. But we chose to go with this one here. AJ yelled, "Geronimo!" as he was hanging on to the briefcase and let go and free fell to the mat. I'd say maybe about a good 15 feet and took the face bump. Dale, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, because you had pinpointed the suplex that Zayn gave to Owens, and then obviously Owens took a couple big bumps because then obviously he had the Death Valley driver onto the ladder. Then you had Sami Zayn doing the power bomb to Dolph Ziggler. It's like it's a couple big spots there. But yeah, you just anytime you've got the free fall that AJ does right there, that has to go down as an ugly because that is. There's very limited ways that you're going to be able to protect yourself on that fall.
No, sorry, Bob. And I'm telling you, that dude literally, I think he did almost the equivalent of jumping into a swimming pool that was empty. That's what that reminded me of.
That is a good distance to falls, like, and for him to just kind of obviously we've seen it before. It was like when you had the big TLC spot, the spear from Edge to Jeff Hardy. It comes to mind. It was like with Jeff hanging on to the titles and then gets speared by Edge. It was like very similar. It was like for both of those guys to kind of do that. That one was a little bit bigger of a spot because obviously it's more memorable because you've got the spears. Like this one is just AJ falling, but that's still it's square in the ring. Coming from the height that is, like, you got to remember, is like Mankind took that fall through the center of the stage in the Hell in the Cells. Like those are not good. Those are not good falls to kind of be able to land. AJ did a good job in being able to come out of it though. So,
yep, he'll certainly be feeling that one tomorrow. So moving on here to the next match from Money in the Bank 2017, we had the Fashion Popos, aka the Fashion Police, Tyler Breeze and Fandango, who are taking on a mystery tag team that wound up being none other than the Ascension. So for the good for this one, we both kind of agreed that the Fashion Police, who are currently getting pushed on the SmackDown Live roster, they keep their momentum going and they walk away with a victory. Dale, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess that's the good. Because we kind of debated this one being American Alpha fans.
Yes.
As to why American Alpha has seemed to disappear and Fandango and Tyler Breeze have gotten the push. It's like, well, kind of, it's like, as you can kind of see, it's like there's a TV element to Breezango. It's like they've got the Fashion Police. It's like they've got this whole little comedy shtick, and American Alpha didn't really have much of a gimmick besides being very athletic and great in the ring. It's like, and that's kind of things like right now is like they, and thus they're off of TV. It's like their wrestling ability right now don't matter.
Yeah.
So it is sad to say. It's like, but it's like if that's the case, it's like I'm kind of getting over with a Breezango. It's like their skits are kind of funny. It's like I get a chuckle out of them a little bit.
Very Law and Order-esque.
Yeah. So that's just the thing. It's like you kind of look at this one. They had to win just because they are the ones building the Fashion Files. It's like they've got the case opens, case closed, and then obviously you see their opponent, which was just into the bad.
Yes,
was the Ascension, and that's just the thing. Is like the Ascension just is So the bad actually was the match itself because it was the Fashion Police versus the Ascension. The reason why we thought the match, it had nothing to do really with the ring action, except for it just wasn't interesting because there was no hook to the match. Once you found out that the mystery team was the Ascension, you're like, oh, well, this is just a filler. It's the match that is pre the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
It's the spot in the card nobody ever wants to be on. Is the match right in front of the main event. That's what this was for. And obviously, so you saw that it was the Ascension, and we all immediately gave up on the match. It's like they got booed coming out, and it wasn't because they were the Ascension. They got booed because the reveal was terrible.
Yes. And it's just amazing to think how far these guys have fallen. Just think where we were about, I'd say it was about maybe 2 years or so ago, maybe almost going on 3 years at this point. Those guys were the most dominant tag team on the NXT roster. And several people, including ourselves, were happy when we heard that they got the call up to the main roster. And it has just fallen completely flat. I think the first thing that really, the first strike against them, they tried to make them the Road Warriors, basically. Those two guys just cannot mimic a great tag team like that. And the poor booking decisions as well. So I don't know how they did themselves out of the hole that they're in, but we're going to go ahead and jump into the ugly here. And basically it's that what I kind of just said there, the Ascension continues to get booked very poorly. Dale, do you have any ideas as to how we can get these guys, back up to anywhere close to where they used to be?
No, but that's just the thing. It's like basically since day one of the main roster, it has been a failure. I had one guy that kind of called American Alpha the biggest bust to the main roster. It's like I countered with the Ascension, and he's like, well, the Ascension didn't have any buzz when they were coming up. I was like, well, they should have. They were the longest running NXT tag team champions. It's like American Alpha did have some buzz, but the Ascension should have had it too. And that's just the thing. It's like since day one of their attempt to kind of resemble Legion of Doom, call out Legion of Doom. And what makes that one so bad is obviously Legion of Doom is legendary. 1A in greatest tag teams of all time. And there's only one of them alive. So it's like you've got the Ascension calling out a tag team that only has one member still left living.
Yeah.
It's like they can't come back and make a wrestling match even work.
Yeah, I actually think it was done in poor taste, to be honest with you. I mean, you're talking about somebody who has been not a Legion of Doom fan, a Road Warriors fan since back in like the 80s. I mean, I remember mimicking those guys. Like, when I was young, me and my cousins, we used to imitate guys and, do wrestling up there at my grandparents' house up there in the city and stuff. So, I mean, I actually kind of almost found it insulting as a Road Warriors fan that they even, went as far to do so in their promos and whatnot. So only time will tell if these guys could somehow get it together.
And then obviously that's things like, and then tonight it's like you have this thing set up to be this big reveal of a mystery tag team. And it's the Ascension that's been booked so poorly that no one cared.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they would have almost done better just grabbing like some random guys from like off the NXT roster or something like that. I mean, like if they would have had like the Ely brothers show up tonight, that would have probably been better.
I think anything that would have come off as a surprise.
Exactly.
Like, we hadn't seen, because that's the thing. Is like this was supposed to be set up as some mystery team. Is like that we weren't really supposed to know. We were maybe thinking it was going to be American Alpha as a heel turn,
which would have been good.
But that's the thing. Is like you get let down. It's like when it's the Ascension, and then they go on to lose the match. So you're like, all of it was for nothing.
For nothing, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on here to the match featuring Randy Orton, who is the challenger to the Maharaja Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. So the good in this one here is the fact that Jinder retains and he continues his dominant heel run as the champion. Dale, what's your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. I guess it's like if they're going to put the title on Jinder, let's make it count. Let's make it be a worthy title run. It's like that way it doesn't look so bad, because obviously if he was just a transitional champion, you're like from jobber to champion, and then you just immediately erase him. He's at least heck his he might probably pass the stature of Bray Wyatt as WWE champion now, because Bray Wyatt didn't defend the championship.
Yeah, I would say so at this point. And they're making good use of the Bollywood boys too. I like what they're having them kind of almost being like the cannon fodder, basically, because that's what they are. They're throwing themselves in the way of harm, and danger to basically to protect him as a champion. So the bad in this one being, this match was not booked as the last match on the show. So it kind of gave us the illusion there's no way that there was going to be any sort of Money in the Bank cash in, right?
Yep. Which is typically what you have at Money in the Bank is like at least the WWE Championship will still be the main event, because you've got the illusion that the Money in the Bank winner might cash in that night, because we've seen it before. It's like we have seen night of cash-ins, so we didn't have that tonight.
Yeah, not at all. So the ugly in this one is Sunil, who's a member of the Singh brothers. He got bat dropped, driven through a table ringside by Randy Orton. Dale, how ugly was that?
Not as ugly as the other brother getting it at Backlash, which became a gif of Randy Orton.
Oh, okay.
Kind of giving the, oh, my bad kind of look on his face when he realized how bad he had backdropped the other brother onto the announce table. It's like, but that was the thing. As soon as I saw this one tonight, I was like, oh, look, it's both brothers have now taken a bad backdrop onto an announce table from Randy Orton.
Yeah, that's a nasty bump to take. I'm glad, hey, rather them than me. So moving on to a debut that we had tonight. We had Mike and Maria Kanellis debut on the SmackDown Live roster here at Money in the Bank 2017. And the good of this is, as I said before, you know, I met this guy. I got good vibes from him, so I kind of want to see him do well. So they got the shot right away on the main roster, and you agree with that, Dale?
Yep. And this kind of goes back to we had been doing some Impact videos, top matches. We got a retweet from Bennett because one of our top Impact matches featured Mike Bennett. He retweeted us, so I reached out to him for an interview, which he agreed to do. And then we couldn't lock anything down. It's like, and then the rumor started to build that him and Maria had signed a WWE contract, and we started putting the pieces together that he had to go quiet because he was now a part of the WWE. And it was like, which is unfortunate for us because we lost the interview. But I am glad for both of those two. Obviously, Maria is now returning to the WWE, and Mike's getting his first chance to be on the WWE. And it's even better. That's the thing. Is like they got the straight shot. They didn't have to go through NXT. They immediately get the call to WWE. But now the bad for this is their last name is Kanellis, which is the last name of Maria, not the last name of Mike Bennett.
Yeah, I'm curious as to where they're going with that because I know that she announced herself as being the first lady and whatnot. So I'm not sure if that's the way they're kind of go with this, that he's kind of playing second fiddle to her, that he's kind of writing her, not coattails, but I guess in this case, dress tails, right?
Yeah, I think that's the way that they're going with this is that she's the first person in the family.
Okay. So, yeah, so I'm wondering, like, I mean, how quickly, you know, she's going to get thrust into the SmackDown Live women's division. And then, you know, just to see what kind of a push that Mike is going to get himself, you know. So the ugly in this debut, my goodness, that theme song that they gave these two is god awful. Dale, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was just about it. I figured we could do a good, bad, ugly with their debut, and I figured it's like the ugly's got to be the theme music. I'm not a huge fan of it. Maybe I'll get to understand it a little bit more when we hear it more. But again, I was like, we could do a good, bad, ugly with this. Let's just put the ugly as the theme music and call it good. Call it there for now. But yeah, right now I'm not a fan of it. Maybe it'll grow on me.
Yeah, it almost like an 80s sitcom kind of feel to it or something. All right, moving on here. So in our next match, we had Naomi, who is the WWE SmackDown Women's Champion, taking on Lana, who was making not only her pay-per-view debut, but actually her first in-ring match in WWE.
On TV.
So, yes, exactly. Televised match. Yes, thank you for correcting me there, Dale. So the good here on this one is Naomi retained, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, there are far bigger people that have had first televised matches with WWE. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, list goes on and on and on. But they've had the long history and reputation of being great performers.
Yes.
This wasn't just a one shot to the main event of somebody that we knew had a track record of being great. It's like this was Lana, who's the wife of Rusev and the valet. And making her first effort at being a major wrestler immediately thrown into the title picture. I just think it's kind of just to me is like it's a bad look. Obviously, WWE, the reason why she kind of gets it though is because all of the other women were in the Money in the Bank ladder match, so there was no other options.
Yep.
It's kind of a bad look because you're taking a woman who didn't have a single match. You should have had her come out on SmackDown, have a match or two. But I think there could have been some of the thing of, if she has a match and it's bad, then we can't put her in the main event. If we just save it for the main event, whatever it is, it is.
Yeah. And just to think, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. There were some rumors that they were actually going to possibly, like have a 6th person in the women's match. Because I remember that they were actually kind of flirting. This is going back to the debut of Mike and Maria there. They were possibly thinking about inserting her into the match or possibly going with Nikki. But I was just like, yeah, I mean, if you would have had, either one of them, there really was no one else who they could have possibly put in this match against Naomi. So I think it was kind of one of those things where, yeah, it was kind of, they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. So for the ugly of this one here, I mean, I just saw some very poor move execution from Atalanta. And like I said, it's kind of one of those things where I think we kind of came to expect this with her limited time that she's had in the ring. Dale, you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, that's kind of it. It's like, obviously, I think the bad leads into the ugly. Is like her moveset is part of maybe why WWE is like, let's just hold it to the pay-per-view, get the match out of the way. Because if we put her on SmackDown and it doesn't go good, it was like, there's really going to be there's like little to no interest in the match at the pay-per-view, even if there wasn't any to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. So now next match we had here, we had the Usos taking on the New Day for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships. So the good here is the Usos, they retain and they continue as a dominant heel tag team on the SmackDown Live roster. Dale, your thoughts on that?
Well, the big thing was like the reason why I was like the Usos retain, because I was smelling, all right, New Day's moved from Raw to SmackDown. Here comes the New Day's long SmackDown title reign. Yep. Didn't happen. So I'm like, woo,
good.
Yeah. Hold it up. Keep it away. Don't. I was like, I do not want an immediate another title run from the New Day. Like, I'm just now getting over. Finally, there's ending.
Thank you.
From Raw.
Yes. Thank you, Usos. Yeah, because I'm actually digging the Usos as a heel tag team as well, too. I like it that they've kind of ventured over to the dark side, because I look back, at their family's lineage. Let's talk about, like the when they were the head shrinkers also, prior to that, they were the Samoan SWAT team. Those guys were always a lot more effective as heels rather than as fan favorites.
Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Thank you. Rikishi had his time as a face, when he was literally doing stink faces all the time. But I'm just saying, but these guys here, yeah, I think they were custom made for heels,
The Rock is a face, but acts like a heel.
Yep. Another example. Yes.
It's like, so their family it's like they just deliver more being that arrogant style that they have to the tough Samoan.
Nasty and fierce and vicious. That's the way I think they should be. So, the bad here, you and I kind of went back and forth on this when we kind of had a little bit of a, debate on this. I just thought the match in general was very sloppy and there seemed to be some miscommunications and there were a couple of botches that I had picked out. I know you said that some of them you weren't very much aware of. There was one I saw in particular with Big E that almost reminded me kind of like of, speaking of Roman Reigns, the miscommunications between him and The Undertaker during their match.
Okay.
He was trying to deliver the big ending. It took like maybe a good 3 or 4 times for him to get whichever one of the Usos up to deliver it. And then there was another spot that featured, I want to say it was Jay. I think it was Jay Uso who kind of delivered a super kick at the same time that Kofi.
That was Jay and Kofi's. Like, they both went for kind of kicks.
Yeah, at the same exact time.
Then, which I didn't think was too odd. But then the fact that Kofi then covered with the the Dragon Sleeper.
Yes, which
I'm like, we've never seen them bust out this move, so you kind of feel like they were covering for a spot where they messed something up.
Yeah, and it just didn't seem to flow very smoothly. I even saw something that was kind of odd after Big E delivered the spear to the floor, where I'm almost sure it was like Kofi was in the ring, and it was almost like he was like beckoning for them to come back in the ring, like, get your behinds back in the ring, y'all. We got the next spot to get to. So like I said, it just seemed like they just weren't on the same page there tonight. Hey.
Could be the case because I don't know how much they've actually worked to get together.
They haven't, I don't
Kind
think.
of setting up the rivalry. We hadn't seen them work much on TV. It's like maybe they were doing it at some house shows, but they may have just not have kind of put their chemistry together yet.
Yeah. Very, very well possible. So hopefully they will get it together eventually. So the ugly of this one. Now, we know that Kofi is known for taking, like just insane leaps and like doing these crazy stunts, over the past couple of years with the Royal Rumble and whatnot. I swear on this one, it almost looked like he was doing a high jump where he kind of jumped and like he arched himself backwards and took a nasty spill out to the ringside floor. Dale, what's your thoughts on that one?
This one kind of just felt like I don't know if Kofi knew exactly how he wanted to kind of exit the ring.
Yeah,
because the top rope was being pulled down on him, and it's like, and then he was flipping back, and it's kind of like it felt like Kofi didn't really know how he wanted to roll out, and then he ends up slapping the mat. It's like, and kind of, it didn't really look too well. It was like kind of came down on the hip. Because obviously those are some of the things that you kind of learn is like is how to kind of exit. It was like a little bit. It's like obviously that was a little bit fast paced. Like, but that's kind of one of those where you think that the spot's coming because obviously if I'm Kofi, I want to know that they're going to drop the top rope on me.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think
that's good to know.
That's a spot I think that they probably had worked out. It was like, so Kofi's got to know it's coming, and so that he would have kind of been able to maneuver himself a little bit better. But when you get in the midst of some of these things just happen. It's like, and you kind of you don't land everything perfectly.
Exactly. And Kofi's resilient, so he was able to, protect himself and recover from it. So that's the most important thing. He didn't wind up getting hurt in the process. So moving on to our women's Money in the Bank match, we had Becky Lynch taking on Charlotte, also Carmella, Natalya, and Tamina. So women's Money in the Bank for the first time ever. And I could actually say the good of this one here, all of the women competitors delivered in this first match of its kind. You agree, Dale?
Absolutely. I thought that the women did a great job of showing that they can hang with the men in a match that the men do as well with a ladder match. Fantastic job. It was like, because they didn't hold anything back. It was like there were spots where you had two women climb the ladder and then get pushed off into and take that spot. It was like where you're coming hard onto the top rope, and then numerous other spots. And then obviously Charlotte showed off her athleticism again with that twisting
moonsault
move off the top rope. It's like she right now to me, I haven't seen too much of what's going on with like the Japanese women, because obviously the Japanese men in New Japan, was like when you talk about wrestlers of the years, like obviously New Japan's got to get credit. There's like there's some of the women's divisions that I don't really know too much about, but when you're talking about a woman that is on television every week, is like right now is like, to me, Charlotte is the women's wrestler of the year
without question. And at this point, I actually move her above Asuka. And I didn't think I would find myself saying that because she was my favorite women's wrestler. But no, some of the stuff that Charlotte does, and she does it so consistently, like you said, in front of large crowds, on pay-per-views and whatnot. Yeah, you got to give her props for that. So the bad here, the finish. The finish definitely left much to be desired. So what's your take on Mr. Ellsworth giving the assist to Carmella here, Dale?
Now, the ending makes sense. Obviously, it's like you have James Ellsworth helping Carmella. That's all fine and dandy. It's like the reason why I didn't like it is because this was a historic match for the women.
Thank you.
And you have James Ellsworth getting involved to impact the finish of who wins.
Yes.
I have no problem with Carmella winning the match. It just is like, it had this been any other type of ladder match. It's like, but with it being the first one, I kind of just felt like I really wish it would have kind of had a better finish for such a historic moment. But I kind of get it. It's like, you've got James Ellsworth, who, by the way, has stopped wrestling. He's now the sidekick to Carmella.
Yep.
But that's just the thing. Is like, look at one of the elements. This is one of the things that I kind of saw getting some play online. Is James Ellsworth is the gopher for Carmella. It's like the man is the gopher for the woman.
Yeah.
Flip, Mike Bennett, Mike Kanellis, Maria Kanellis. There's a thing going on play here on SmackDown where they might be trying to make the man kind of be the underling to the woman.
Yep, and I'm okay with that. It's about time. It's 2017 here. Give the women their props, give them their due. But this is crazy here. I cannot remember exactly who I had this conversation with within the last day or so. It might have even been Matt Vichinsky. Shout out to Matt, who I talk with about wrestling all the time. But I want to say they were actually possibly flirting with the idea of actually letting that dude keep the briefcase, letting him actually capture it and keep it, and then kind of all of a sudden make him this desirable guy that all the women are kind of flirting with and whatnot to try to somehow, procure the briefcase from him. I'm kind of glad they didn't go with that angle and that they just had him, actually retrieve it for her and then give it to her, because we've seen something crazy like that before, where we've seen a man capture a woman's title. It has happened.
And the setup is there because he's the one that grabbed the briefcase. So it was there for it. I guess they just changed their mind and decided to allow Carmella to keep it.
So now for the ugly for this one, Tamina got speared into the ringside steps there by Charlotte and took what seemed like almost like a nasty bump to like her lower back. Did you happen to catch that, Dale? And what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually thought it was both spears. It's like the one from Charlotte to Tamina as they're coming out of the ring.
Okay.
Because she kind of, I don't know if they were supposed to kind of spear through the ropes, but Charlotte gives the spear to Tamina and they kind of catch on the ropes.
Okay.
And then come down. And then I think maybe they roll out and then they do the spot on the floors, like into the stairs. So I don't know if there was just an error in execution there, that they didn't kind of go out of the ring the way they wanted. But that's why I kind of pinpointed both of them there, because I thought the one out of the ring was pretty ugly too, because Tamina kind of just catches herself into the ropes.
Yeah. One thing is for sure, as I said earlier, she'll be feeling that one tomorrow there. So now that we have made it to the end of this card, Dale, time to give our grades. What's your grade for Money in the Bank 2017 on the no gimmick scale?
2.75. I don't even have to think about this one. It to me it's one match. It's the main event. I wish I could have gotten a little bit more Shinsuke. Well, yeah, 2.75. The men's ladder match. The women's match was good. Some of the booking decisions kind of lowered my score. And then obviously you get the debut of Mike and Maria. So there were some good things, but just some things that really booking wise don't make no sense.
Yeah. And speaking of things that don't make no sense, let's talk about my rating that I gave SmackDown Backlash pay-per-view, where I gave that one a 3. And I was very generous with that one. I don't know, for some reason WWE caught me at a vulnerable moment. And I think it was because they actually had the balls to go through with giving Jinder Mahal the title. I think that might have been part of the reason why I actually went with the 3.0 for that one. For this one, though, I'm coming back on y'all. I give a 2.75, I want to say, to Extreme Rules. For this one, just because the Money in the Bank, the men's match really delivered the way it did, I can't go any higher than I'd say about a 2.9. I got to go a shade under the 3.0 from what I gave Backlash. Because like I said, I think there's some things that they really could have delivered with on this one that they just didn't quite do so. So one thing is for sure here. Dale and I could talk about wrestling. Matter of fact, we've talked about it for a whole year long, my friend. So let's do it for another year and for years to come. So thank you for joining Dale and I for this episode of No Gimmicks Podcast. This has been our Good, the Bad, and the Ugly recap of SmackDown Live's Money in the Bank 2017. So we are no gimmicks, no image, all wrestling, all the time. Please subscribe to our official YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/the No Gimmicks Podcast. Please make sure that you subscribe publicly so that way we are aware of your support. Check out Craig Perkins' articles on ProWrestling.com. We would like to hear from our viewers, so please leave us some feedback in our comment section. Also, please like our Facebook and follow us on Twitter at the No Gimmicks PC. Remember, sharing is caring. Feel free to share the links to our episodes with other pro wrestling fans on your social media accounts as well. That does it for this episode of No Gimmicks Podcast. For my tag team partner Dale Clifford in Fernley, Nevada, this is Todd Smith in Bristol, Connecticut signing off. Until next time around, y'all take care.